hoopinhoops.com. So I heard the Philadelphia 76ers are praising Joel Embid's leadership during the early days of training camp. I find it a little convenient. Make no mistake, I think it's the right thing to do under the current circumstances. But it's hard to see that it's not convenient given everything that's going on with and around the organization. Embiid has been with the Sixers for some years now. This is the first time I've heard a public announcement of him being a great leader. Am I to assume that he has not been a great leader before and that's why they're mentioning it now? Or is he doing something differently this season that makes him a great leader? I know. I throw those things out there and persons may be thinking I'm going at Embiid. I'm not. I really am not. I do not know the sort of leader Embiid is, and he may be a great leader, who knows? As things happen, you adjust the way you do things, and that may very well be what the Sixers are doing. In essence, the reason I brought up the leadership is because there's a good chance we would not be hearing about the quality of Embiid's leadership if there were no issues going on, this new season. Without actually saying it, the Sixers may very well be sending a message to Joel Embiid, you know, that they support him. I'm sure they probably do it in private, but you know what I mean. Sometimes they send that extra message, and in general, what they're hoping for is that the season goes as smoothly as possible. In my previous comments, I focused on who was primarily at fault, for the fiasco that is currently going on between Ben Simmons and the Sixers. One of the things I did not mention is that Joel Embiid is a phenomenal player. He really is. Even without Ben Simmons, when you look at the pieces they have around him, the Sixers are still a force in the Eastern Conference. Of course, the primary concern remains Embiid's ability to stay healthy throughout the season. His record over the past seasons clearly show he's prone to being hurt. This will continue to be a problem throughout the rest of his career, very likely. The other thing, of course, and it was an issue last year, so persons probably have already forgotten about it. Persons have short memories after you have certain seasons. The thing is, Joel Embiid, you know, has shown up in the past out of shape and overweight. Now, Doc somewhat inspired him to drop some of the pounds, and he came in great shape last year. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that, he does not get too comfortable and he goes back to what he was last season when Doc arrived. So in general, I'm rooting for the Sixers. I'm rooting for Joel Embiid to be to just have a phenomenal season. But of course, if he gets too comfortable, then we goes back to the conversation about Simmons. Uh, uh, and it's a question, a conversation that will be had about, was he appreciated enough, and could there be things that would have been done to have kept him, or should it have not started in the first place? I know that general thinking among most analysts is somewhat that Ben played poorly, and he's somewhat out of place demanding a trade. But just as I think about Embiid as a phenomenal player, I also think Simmons is an excellent player as well. And he was a significant part of the Sixers winning. There are two sides of the ball. Of the people who are saying Simmons played poorly, I don't know any one of them who would be saying that he was not extremely good on defense throughout, the season and the playoffs. And generally, persons focus on game 7 of Atlanta, when they claim, Simmons played poorly. That's almost, like the reference. On offense, you know, aside from him not attacking the rim in the way we know he can and finishing around the rim, he was pretty good at running the offense and getting persons involved. It's no secret he had what 13 assists in that game 7, and if you look throughout the series, the assists speaks for itself. Now I could go on about other parts of his game offensively that persons are not talking about, but persons are focusing on that given up layup, and of course he not making his free throws. So, but in general, he had a pretty good game, putting that one blimp aside. So it's not like what persons are saying, bad game. In fact, what some people are actually overlooking is that Joel Embiid in that very game 7 had 8 turnovers, and that contributed to the loss quite a bit as well. But we don't really want to go into that. Who was the one primarily responsible for the loss? It's a team loss, and that's that. So with all this said, I look forward to seeing the Sixers this season. I look forward to seeing them with a healthy Joel Embiid. I expect them to be an exciting team. I don't expect them to be better than the Bucks or the Nets, but I expect them to be right there in the mix of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. Hoopinhoops.com.